As Maria gets slapped by Lindsay, her sensory neurons send a signal to her brain informing it that she just got hit. Integral neurons process this information and pew, 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 send a signal back to motor neurons to make Maria react to the slap. After a stimulus occurs, an action potential travels down the axon of the neuron. The inside of the neuron is negatively charged, while the outside of the neuron is positively charged. Notice the heavy concentration of the potassium ions inside the neuron and the heavy concentration of sodium ions outside the neuron. In reality, there are some sodium ions inside the neuron and some potassium ions outside of it, but for the sake of clarity, we have not displayed those few ions.
When the action potential reaches the voltage-gated sodium channel, it causes the channel to open, allowing the influx or sudden rush of sodium ions into the cell. This causes the polarity of the membrane to flip. The inside of the neuronal membrane is now positive, while the outside of the membrane has become negative.
When the action potential reaches a potassium channel, the voltage-gated channel opens, causing an efflux or a sudden rush of potassium ions out of the cell. This efflux of potassium ions causes the membrane to again reverse polarity and return to its original charges. The inside is negatively charged and the outside is positively charged. The only problem with this is that the neuron must reset its concentration of the respective ions in order to ensure it is prepared for the next action potential.
The sodium ions have diffused down the length of the axon slightly ahead of the action potential. The sodium-potassium pump is responsible for resetting the ion concentration using active transport. With the help of ATP, the sodium-potassium pump grabs 3 sodium ions and diffuses them out of the cell, and in return diffuses 2 potassium ions back into the cell. This pump keeps working in this manner, eventually restoring the original concentrations of the 2 ions.
Those sodium ions that diffuse down the axon ahead of the action potential cause the next sodium channel to open and the same process to occur again. For the sake of brevity, a second sodium-potassium pump has not been included. However, there are sodium-potassium pumps down the length of the axon that repeat the process described with the first. When the action potential reaches the axon terminal, neurotransmitters may be released into the synapse for synaptic transmission and the process may be repeated.